Hey, this is thecanddchannel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for UFC Fight Night 68, Boetsch versus Henderson. Overall, it's actually not a bad card. Prospect-wise, you got some decent prospects. Christos, Giagos, good prospect. It's probably a decent prospect in Chris Wade. Jake Collier, despite losing previously, not a bad prospect. Jose Quinonez, Leonardo Morales, they're both prospects in the sense that, well, actually, I don't know what Quinonez's age is. He doesn't have a lot of fights. They're both prospects just in the sense that they are relatively inexperienced and could progressively get better. But it's really hard to say how far those two can reach. I said kind of, I don't see them as blue chippers or like great prospects. I do actually like Leonardo Morales' game though, his Muay Thai game. So I think there's something there with him. You got some heavyweights fighting. Bruce Leroy's fighting Rivera. Birchak versus Soto is a good fight. T-City's fighting pretty tough stylistic matchup in Thiago Tavares. Medeiros Poirier should be really good. Same with Mitrione Rothwell. And Boetsch versus Henderson could be pretty good, actually. Let's get started. Tim Boetsch fights Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson has a 30-13 record. 14 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 4 losses by submission. He's 44 years old on a 2-fight losing streak. Training at a Team Quest. He's only won 1 fight of his last 6. I think that was against Shogun. He is a former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion and has those. He's also a Pride dual champion. 2 different weight classes. Champion 2 different weight classes in Pride. He has legit one-punch KO power, especially with his right hand. He's got a good clinch game. His offensive wrestling is pretty good. His takedown defense, especially as of late, has been a bit questionable. It's not as strong. Definitely, it's never actually been that strong, surprisingly, considering his pedigree. In MMA, he's never shown that strong of takedown defense. And it has to be said with Dan Henderson at 44 years old, he's starting to get knocked out a little more consecutively, or at least dropped or wobbled. And he also just noticeably looks slower. Tim Boetsch, 18-8 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO, and 3 losses by sub. He's 34 years old, trained out of AMC Pancration, same place that Demetrius Johnson trains out of. He is trading wins and losses at the moment. Most recently losing a really fun fight against Telis Lates. He's big for 185. He's real resilient and tough and gritty. His wrestling's good. He does have that redneck judo. Stand-up's good. I always think of him more of not so much of a technician. Can be a brawler at times, but he is pretty heavy-handed. Knocked out like Brad Tavares. I believe he knocked down Telis Lates as well. So yeah. As far as the pick goes, this one, I'm actually going to go with Boetsch here. Here's the thing. We all love Dan Henderson. But what does he have in his game these days? The guy's getting hit a lot more. He gets hit relatively easily. He's getting dropped a lot more and just straight up getting knocked out at times. He's older. He moves a lot slower. Really, at this point in Dan Henderson's career, and it's not to say he can't hit it on people still, he kind of just has that right hand. I mean, yeah, he has the wrestling, but he doesn't use it very much. You can watch his fights. He just doesn't use his wrestling very much. You know? And he's just kind of slow. Tim Boetsch isn't anything great. You know? I think he gets by more on toughness and grit than skill. Not to say he's skillless by any stretch of imagination. But some of the wins he's gotten, you know, were against like his high achievement wins. I always felt was more a result. Well, except against Lombard, that's just a terrible fight. But like the Okami fight, you know, he's getting beaten up, getting mounted even, comes back, you know, gets beat up by Brad Tavares, comes back, knocks him out. You know, it's like he's a guy that's winning on heart and resilience and toughness, you know, without always just being the most skilled guy at times, you know. Like I said, it's not to say he's not skilled. He can wrestle, he can strike, you know. But I gotta go with Tim Boetsch here. It's just, he's not declining, for one thing. He generally looks relatively good in his fights. He's a guy that at the very least seems to be able to still hang. Skill-wise, I think he might actually be able to get takedowns on Henderson at this point in time. He could definitely crack him. I can definitely see Boetsch just landing some big punch that he has landed before. Maybe some uppercut or something. And wobble, if not TKO, Dan Henderson. So I'm actually going to go with Tim Boetsch by KO or TKO. I just think that Dan Henderson's chin is not where it used to be. He's still a tough guy. He's just slower. He's more hittable. And he really doesn't... He only has very specific things to rely on, like his one-punch knockout power with his right hand. It doesn't even seem like he relies too much on his wrestling these days. And with his age, I don't know how good his cardio is, too. If this is 5 rounds, I don't know if his cardio can go that great. Still has some veteran savvy. You know, if you clinch with Dan Henderson, off the break, off the clinch, he's going to throw like some big right hand. That's what put out Shogun. It's out of nowhere. Or like, you know, he has a body lock, but on the back of Fedor, and gets an uppercut, and it's always off this like transition, this transitionary period. Or Dan Henderson, wily veteran right there. He can still get hits like those, you know. But I still gotta go with Boetsch to win this one. Next fight after that, Matt Mitrione fights Ben Rothwell. Rothwell has a 34-9 record, 20 wins by KO or TKO, 11 wins by sub. He has 4 losses by KO or TKO and 2 losses by sub. 33 years old. He's 6'4", whereas Mitrione's 6'3". Rothwell's on a 2-fight win streak. He's also another case of a guy that probably gets by more on heart and resilience and being heavy-handed too and having a good chin than real, you know, like great skill or anything like that. And because of that, I tend to underestimate the guy so much. You know, like I said, when I say like at the absence of skill, it's not to say that they're absolutely skillless guys. That's not what I'm saying. And it's not like these guys don't know how to throw a punch. It's not like they're not experienced on the ground or standing. I mean, this is a very experienced fighter. He obviously has skill. What I mean is technical skill. What I mean really is just technical skill. Or like a high-level technical skill in relation to like the resume. It's like, oh, how did he beat this guy? Oh, well, he was getting beat up a lot, and like, but still managed to come back or something like that. Rothwell though, yeah, super game. This guy is always in the fight. This guy's making Brendan. Actually, Schaub wobbled him with like this spinning back elbow. Schaub runs in. Rothwell clubs him. Schaub goes down, and he's freaking trying to grab butterflies or grab a rope. I mean, it's almost like it's a very comical knockout. Super resilient. Rothwell's also got a really good chin. Stand-ups are good. Super heavy-handed. His grappling, though, has always been a bit questionable. You know, every time I see him on the ground, whether it's on his back, even on top, I mean, it's not the greatest, you know? Doesn't have, like, the greatest base. Doesn't always get back to his feet in the most technical ways. But, yeah. Mitrione, 9-3 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by decision. 36 years old, he's 6'3". He's on a 3-fight win streak, training out of Blexilians. Mitrione's got some good kickboxing. He's got some real heavy strikes too. Heavy-handed, heavy feet. He moves real well for the weight class. And he has some pretty good takedown defense as well. Not saying he hasn't been taken down. Like Chuck Congo managed to take him down. Who else has taken him down? I don't know, he actually uses his movement relatively well to not get taken down, though. I actually think Mitrione, as far as his technical skill, I think he's just a better kickboxer on a technical level, you know? He throws, whether it's a jab or kicks, just more smoothly. He moves better. The problem is he's fighting Rothwell. I underestimate this guy so much. It's not even funny. There's certain guys. I say it. Lamas is one of these people. Misha Tate's one of these people. John Moraga can be that person sometimes. Rothwell's like one of those guys where it's like, despite his flaws, he can win by being the tougher guy sometimes. Maybe not being the better skilled guy. And once again, I'm not trying to insult him. It seems like I'm insulting him. I'm really not. But yeah, I just always underestimate Ben Rothwell. He's always proven me wrong too. Didn't pick and beat Schaub, knocked him out. Didn't pick and beat Overeem, knocked him out too. And in that case, actually, that wasn't a case of being like the less skilled guy too, actually. He wasn't doing anything that was like a comeback from behind or anything. He wasn't even like wobbled or anything. So that was actually a good display from Ben Rothwell just in general. He countered like a left hook or something like that. And you know, managed to really pressure Overeem too. So that's another thing about Rothwell. He actually can pressure his opponents really well. Can be a bit hittable. But, I gotta go with Mitrione here. It's just, like I said, I think he's just a more technical fighter. Not to say that, like, somewhere along the way, Ben Rothwell gets this uppercut or some punch in there, knocks out Mitrione or something. Could happen. I underestimate the guy so much. But, I gotta go with Mitrione. He's just more, like I said, more technical, moves better. Not the younger fighter, but has definitely taken less abuse in his MMA career. At heavyweight, yeah, he's 36, but it's heavyweight. I mean, guys like Arlovsky, Mark Hunt, Fabricio Verdum can all be top-level heavyweights, despite their age. It's just the way heavyweight works. And Mitrione hasn't been through too many battles, doesn't get knocked out left and right or anything like that. Doesn't even get wobbled too much, actually. So I think he's still a guy that might actually just be in his prime, if not even just getting better. So Mitrione, I don't know if he'll knock out Rothwell. Tough to say. He's got some pretty heavy hands. I mean, Rothwell's chin is strong, but it's not impenetrable. I'll go with Mitrione by KO or TKO. Once again, I hate picking Red Rothwell fights. There's certain guys that I am terrible at picking fights. Boetsch is another one that actually is like that too. Where it's just like, okay, yeah. He's losing. Oh, he won. Shoot. It's like, gosh. But yeah, I'll go with Matt Mitrione by KO or TKO. Next fight after that, Yancy Medeiros fights Dustin Poirier. Medeiros has an 11-2 record with 1 no contest, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub at 27 years old on a 2-fight win streak. He's got some good stand-up. He also used like a spinning back kick really well. He uses combinations, which I like. He's real long, too. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is actually pretty good. He has a good front choke series that he's been finishing opponents with as of late. He's got those long limbs, too. It's a perfect choke for the guy. Yeah, perfect choke. Get like front chokes, just, with his long limbs. Works for him really well. Dustin Poirier, 17-4 record, 8 wins by KO TKO, 6 wins by sub, 26 years old, training out of ATT. So he's got good stand-up. He's really aggressive, always pushing forward. He's a strong grappler, too. Very underrated on the ground. Also actually has a pretty good front choke as well. He has a good darce. Didn't get that on Brookins, if I'm not mistaken. His stand-up defense is not very good, though. And actually, this is a guy that has gotten wobbled a good amount of times by Corsani, knocked out by McGregor. So this is a guy that actually takes a good amount of hits. So yeah, defensively he needs some work. Gotta wonder though if moving up a weight class would actually help that. Not him getting hit per se, but like his ability to recover, which he was always good in featherweight, might even be better at lightweight. This one's really hard for me to call. I'm not kidding. Poirier's a bigger name guy. I'm kind of actually shifting back and forth on this because stylistically, I think I would argue that Medeiros might be the longer fighter. I should have probably checked that stat. Medeiros at times can be a bit hittable, but I do find Poirier, despite his defensive shortcomings, his offense is really good. It's technical as well. So I'll go with Poirier here. Not super, don't know if we'll see a finish. Well, Poirier is actually a pretty potent finisher. 14 of his 17 wins are by finish. Medeiros is a tough guy. This one's hard for me to call. A lot of these, here's the thing. I see the avenue that the opponent can win. For sure, I don't know if Poirier can necessarily outstrike Medeiros, for one thing. I don't know if he can really take him down. I think he can just get the better of the stand-up exchanges, if that makes any real sense. And I can see Poirier potentially landing the cleaner shots on Medeiros and arguably even the harder shots. So I'll go with Poirier. Go by Medeiros pretty good. I'll go by decision, I guess. It's really hard for me to call. I'm really high on Medeiros, actually. I actually pick his fights relatively well too, if I'm not mistaken. I think Medeiros is a pretty good prospect. Who's he training with? Like the Diaz brothers these days? You know, his reach is really good. His overall game's improving. But I do like Dustin Poirier's game. I think that his aggressiveness, his ability to push forward and put pressure on his opponent could work in his favor against Medeiros. So I'll go with Poirier by decision. Not super confident in this pick though, just because once again I'm high on Medeiros, and Poirier, despite everything I said, is still very hittable. Next fight I thought Brian T-City Ortega fights Thiago Tavares. T-City 8-0 undefeated record with 1 no contest, 4 wins by submission, 4 wins by decision, 24 years old, training out of Black House. He's got some strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. Stand-up's kind of average. It's not great. You know, it's just average. Thiago Tavares 19-5 record with 1 draw, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 13 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO, 30 years old, on a 2-fight win streak. Trains on a Team Tavares. He is a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Stand-up is improving, actually, but his chin is relatively weak. He actually has a pretty good offensive takedown game when he gets his opponent against the cage. This is actually... I kind of find this a tough stylistic matchup for Ortega. Just in the sense that, I can't really see Ortega out jiu-jitsuing Thiago Tavares. And if anything, I see Tavares legit. He's a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Being, out jiu-jitsuing. That's not really a word, but just out grappling Ortega, just on a positional level. Thiago Tavares is, I would actually say, the better positional grappler. Some of the positions that Ortega likes, like the back, or he likes to get triangle chokes. It's not like Thiago Tavares hasn't seen those or been there before, and has put people, has taken people's backs himself. So I don't find this to be a great stylistic matchup for Ortega. I got to go with Thiago Tavares here. At the very least, pedigree wise, he's the better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. I would argue better grappler, the much more experienced fighter. He has almost 3 times the amount of fights that Ortega has. Fought the higher level competition. The only thing that worries me with Thiago Tavares is his chin. He just doesn't have a good chin. The thing with T-City, though, is he hasn't shown to be that much of a stand-up threat at this point. So, yeah, I'll go with Thiago Tavares. It's either going to be by submission or decision. I can't see him knocking out Ortega. I can see Thiago Tavares taking him down, getting the better of the scramble, maybe even getting a dominant position. I'll go by decision, though. But yeah, I have to think that Thiago Tavares just, at least on paper, has the better grappling, the stronger record, and whatnot. Maybe not stronger record, but just more experience and whatnot. So Thiago Tavares by decision. Just gotta tell you, all these fights are, they're pretty close. This is actually one of those that's really hard to call. Next fight, Anthony Birchak fights Joe Soto. Birchak, 11-2 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. 29 years old. Good wrestler. Solid stand-up skills. He actually has some pretty good entries into his takedowns. Some pretty good ground and pound as well. Joe Soto, 15-3 record, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub. Also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. 28 years old, a former Bellator featherweight champion. He's a good boxer and a pretty strong wrestler himself. His grappling's really good. Really good himself. Now this one's actually really strange. When they were originally supposed to fight before Joe Soto got promoted to like the main event against TJ Dillashaw, I actually picked Anthony Birchak to win. I thought he's more prone to going forward and utilizing his offense more than Soto. That hasn't changed, dude. I don't... But here's the thing. Since then, Joe Soto lost to TJ Dillashaw, but had a really good showing. So I have to wonder if that kind of, I'll say, inflates his value. I don't look at odds, and I don't actually know the odds to this fight. But I gotta wonder if people are thinking, oh wow, this guy looks so good against TJ Dillashaw. Well, who's Anthony Birchak? Oh, he's the guy that I got leg locked by Ian Entwistle in the first round. Well, geez, let's go with Joe Soto. You know, he looked better, even though he lost. He looked much better against the champion than Birchak did against a pretty one-dimensional fighter. But yeah, my original pick was Birchak. That's not to say, but the thing is, even when I picked that fight, I thought it was really close. These guys have, records-wise, you know, even they're really close in a lot of things. You know, fight-wise, one has 13, one has 18. You know, Soto has 2 more TKOs and 2 more subs. You know, he's 1 year younger. But, you know, everything's just relatively close. Birchak was an MFC champion. Soto was a former Bellator featherweight champion. So I think the matchup's actually pretty close, too. Obviously, I don't think Soto's, like... And Entwistle's one of those guys that'll, like, go for a leg lock and will either get it or get, like, pounded out and whatnot. You know, he's just one of those guys... When you get those, like, leg lock specialists, you know... And that's kind of all they have. They can win that, you know. It's not inconceivable for them to win by a leg lock. Even at like a high level, you know, because he always has, it's like a go-to move, you know. So this one's tough to say. I don't want to overestimate the guy because he looked good against Dillashaw and underestimate Birchak just because he lost against Entwistle. That's the thing. And even skill set wise, it's just really hard. They're both good wrestlers. Their stand-ups good as well. Both overall good grapplers. I'm still gonna go Birchak though. Like I said, I think I think he's gonna push the action more. Really, I think that's the difference between the two. Whereas I can see Birchak pushing forward more, trying to get his offense in, whether it's strikes, try and get his wrestling. I don't know if he can get Joe Soto down. I don't know if Joe Soto can get Birchak down. That's the thing. And I think it'll be close though. And Joe Soto winning, I can totally see it. I've been just back and forth with this one. I'll go Birchak by decision. I think that just what he's going to do is going to look better on the judges' scorecards just because he's moving forward more and just launching more offense than Soto. Because sometimes with Soto, he can like sit back and whatnot. And sometimes he can like wait for his opponent. And then at the very least, judge scorecards. That isn't always like the best thing to do. Not to say that he did that a lot against Dillashaw. I think there's some points in the fight where he actually was just kind of doing that. But yeah, tough one for me to call. I could be totally off here. These guys, I think, are just really well matched. I think Joe Soto's got the bigger name value then. People just don't know who Birchak is. But yeah, I'll go Birchak by decision. Next about that, Bruce Leroy Caceres fights Francisco Rivera. Rivera has a 10-4 record with 1 no contest, 7 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by decision. He also has 2 losses by submission, 33 years old. He's going to be the shorter fighter. Oh, according to the Fight Fighter, he's 5'8", and Caceres is 5'9". I thought Caceres was taller, though. Rivera's on a 2-fight losing streak. He's a strong boxer with heavy hands. He's a good takedown defense, but his cardio is questionable. Caceres, 10-7 record with 1 no contest, 2 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. Also has 5 losses by submission, 26 years old, on a 2-fight losing streak. Most recently losing to Kanahara, if I'm not mistaken. Trains out of MMA Lab. His stand-up's good. He can be really unorthodox. He does have some good Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills. He'll throw up triangles. But one thing I like about his jiu-jitsu is his back control. He's really good at taking the back and keeping it. His stand-up defense though needs some work. This is a guy that does get wobbled and dropped a good amount of times. Here's the other thing with Caceres. As much improvement as I see from him, the guy's still raw. I mean, he's just one of those guys that's like, he just doesn't always have the most fundamental or basic game. It seems like he tends to want to be more unorthodox, more like, and whatnot than fundamentally sound. With Rivera, he has the more fundamentally sound game. He's got some good boxing. He moves well in and out of the pocket. He has some good takedown defense. I mean, a lot of people praise Rivera for his fight against Faber, but it was just a good fundamental game. Hey, work a range game on Faber, with your hands. Don't overcommit to things. Defend takedowns and make Faber pursue sloppy takedowns. And up until the eye poke, that's what Rivera was doing. But he's always had just a pretty fundamental game. That's not to say Caceres can't win, but I got it with Rivera here. Like I said, just a more fundamental game. I think he can outstrike Caceres. I think he can probably get a good hit on Caceres. He's got to watch out in scrambles. I think Caceres is a better scrambler. I can't really see Caceres taking Rivera down either. Rivera's got some solid takedown defense. And I never found Bruce Leroy to be like the best wrestler. So yeah, I gotta go with Francisco Rivera. Caceres is tough, so I'll go by decision. But would not surprise me if Rivera gets a TKO or KO. Things to worry about with Rivera though, his cardio. Him just being in a bad position. Maybe if he smells blood or something. But otherwise, yeah, I'll go with Francisco Rivera for the win. On to the prelims. Derrick the Black Beast Lewis fights Shawn the Savage Jordan. Once again, a lot of this card is really hard for me to pick. This one's actually pretty hard for me to pick too. Both of them are like lower / mid-tier heavyweights. Lewis has a 12-3 record with 1 no contest, 11 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 30 years old. He's 6'3". He's a good boxer, like relative to heavyweights. He's not the quickest guy though. He is stupidly heavy-handed though. I mean, his ground and pound, he can melt guys. He's also just like big for he's a big heavyweight. His overall grappling though is weak. Like when he's on top and against like Ruan Potts for example, it's like oh, there's an arm triangle. Well, I'm not gonna go for it. And it's like, dude, an arm triangle is like, you learn an arm triangle when you're a white belt. It's like you can tell that like he's still not. I don't know how well he's picking up the grappling game. It's serviceable at this point, but it's definitely still something that he's clearly still learning. Shawn Jordan, 17-6 record, 13 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by sub. Also has 4 losses by KO TKO, 30 years old. He's going to be a shorter fighter at 6 foot. He's on a 2-fight win streak, training out of ATT. He has some good stand-up. He's also pretty heavy-handed. His wrestling actually isn't too bad. One thing is, his chin isn't the greatest, though. This guy does get knocked out by Gonzaga, Mitrione. It's been dropped here and there by lesser fighters. So this one's hard for me to call. I will say that Shawn Jordan is the more well-rounded fighter. He does have some wrestling skills. He can take the fight to the ground if need be. Besides keeping the fight standing. With Lewis, though, like I said, man, this guy, I think he might be, he's at least a taller fighter. And, dude, the guy hits hard. He's not the most technical fighter, especially on the ground. I'd have to say Jordan might arguably be the more technical fighter, especially in grappling. I'll go Shawn Jordan. I'll go TKO here. Once again, tough one for me to call. It's like you're low-level heavyweights. The guy who lands the best punch. Any punch in heavyweight can end the night. That's the thing. At the very least with Lewis, he's really heavy-handed, and Jordan has been knocked out a good amount of times. I'm hoping that Shawn Jordan utilizes his grappling, because I feel that Lewis has a weakness there. So yeah, and maybe even get a dominant position, maybe work some ground and pound. So I go Shawn Jordan by TKO, maybe by decision. But yeah, man, tough one for me to call. Next try that, Omari Akhmedov fights Brian Ebersole. Ebersole has a 51-16 record with 1 draw and 1 no contest. 14 wins by KO TKO, 20 wins by sub. He also has 9 losses by submission. 34 years old, trains out of Tiger Muay Thai. Zubair Tukhugov trains out of there. I believe Huerta trains there too. The guy's a veteran. Super experienced. He has some really unorthodox stand-up. He's a good wrestler, and his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is actually pretty good. With Akhmedov, he has a 14-2 record, 6 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. Also has 2 losses by submission, 27 years old. He's got a Sambo background. He's a good wrestler, and his stand-up's actually improving. He fought, Mats Nilsson in his last fight, and actually looked pretty good. Stand-up didn't look too bad. His cardio needed a lot of work, though. I didn't like what I see in his cardio. I did like what I saw from his wrestling. I'll go with Akhmedov for the win here by decision. I think he'll be the better wrestler at least. Ebersole, at this point, he's got veteran savvy. He might be able to just grind against the cage. Well, I don't know if he can do that against Akhmedov. That's the thing. I don't know if he can outstrike Akhmedov or out-wrestle him. I can at the very least see Akhmedov out-wrestling Ebersole. So I'll go with Akhmedov for the win there. By decision. Next fight, that Christos Giagos fights Chris Wade. Wade has a 9-1 record, 3 wins by sub, 6 wins by decision. 27 years old on a 4-fight win streak. He's a grinder. He's got a good wrestling, good clinch. Stand-up's average, though. Christos Giagos, 11-3 record, 6 wins by KO TKO, 3 wins by sub. Also has 3 losses by submission. 25 years old. I like just everything I see from the guy. Stand-up's pretty good. Got that nice flying knee knockout against that guy in RFA, his name, Dakota Cochran. He's got some pretty dynamic stand-up. He's a good wrestler, too, and his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu actually isn't too bad. Giagos is a good athlete. That's one thing about him. Wade isn't that bad of an athlete himself. His wrestling's not that bad, but I think Giagos, at the very least, out-athletes him. He's definitely the more dynamic fighter. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Christos Giagos to win this one. I don't know if he can out-wrestle Chris Wade. I can actually see him outstriking him. So I'll go Christos Giagos. I'll go by decision. I don't really know what avenue he could to finish Wade. Not to say he can't get like a KO or TKO, maybe even a sub. Safer thing, Christos Giagos by decision. Next right after that, Justin Edwards fights Joe Proctor. Proctor has a 10-3 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub, 29 years old. There's nothing like great about Proctor's game, his stand-up's not too bad. And these are both lower level fighters, Stand-up's not too bad, It's like average. His grappling's also relatively average. It's not great, but it's not bad. He's a guy that doesn't necessarily have like liabilities in any one aspect of MMA. But he's not particularly that good or that great at any one aspect of MMA either. Justin Edwards, 8-4 record, 1 win by TKO, 6 wins by sub, 32 years old, on a 2-fight losing streak. Trains out of Team George Gurgel. He's only won 2 of his last 6. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills are good. He has a good guillotine especially. Stand-up at best, I'd say, is average. Man, I hate fights like this. It's like they're both like lower level guys. The avenue I see Justin Edwards winning is by submission. With Proctor, I don't know if he can get the finish, but I think he at least arguably has a better stand-up, and, he can definitely handle himself on the ground. It's not like he sucks on the ground either, So, with that said, I'll go Joe Proctor by decision here. Like I said, they're not prospects. They're not gatekeepers. So it's just one of those fights that's like hard to call because they're lower level guys. They're both relatively, they have skill in every area, but they're not like that particularly good or that great at any one particular skill. I think Proctor at the very least just has a better stand-up and has as good, Edwards probably has better grappling. It's not like Joe Proctor has like sucky grappling or anything like that. He's a good, he's a good enough grappler in his own right. So Joe Proctor by decision. Okay, on the Fight Pass prelims, Ricardo Demente Abreu fights Jake Collier. Abreu, 5-0, undefeated record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub, 31 years old. He's going to be the shorter fighter at 6 foot. Trained out of Juan Fight Team. He's never been past the second round. He's got some strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. And the stand-up, not too bad. He can, I don't want to use the word brawler too much, but like, I watched his last fight against Wagner Silva. He'd like use a jab to set up like an overhand. I mean, that was like the base of his skill set in the stand-up. It's just like jab, jab, overhand, or something like that. Jake Collier, 8-2 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub, 26 years old, and like I said, he's 6'3". He's a good wrestler. His stand-up's not too bad, and he does use combinations. I liked what I saw. Actually, I kind of liked what I saw from both, actually. I didn't think Abreu looked that bad. He was able to drop Wagner Silva a couple times, actually. He does have a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background as well. Collier lost to Vitor Miranda, but if he wants to fight in the first round, like at the very end of the first round, he was doing good with stand-up. He was throwing combinations, even going for the body at times. All of his strike entries were combinations, which I liked. His wrestling looked pretty good. His top control didn't look too bad. What happened was like 20 seconds left in the round, they get back to their feet. Vitor Miranda lands a head kick while Collier's against the cage, and then subsequent ground and pound, it was over. But up until that point, Jake Collier was winning the fight. Like I said, I liked what I said from Collier. I liked his wrestling. He's going to be a taller fighter. I like the fact that he uses combinations. So I'll go with Jake Collier. He is actually a potent finisher. Abreu can be a bit wild, like reckless with his striking. I'll go Collier by KO or TKO for the win here. Once again, I see avenues for Abreu to win, but I liked more of what I saw out of Collier. And finally, Leonardo Chimmy Morales fights Jose Alteco Quinonez. Quinonez has a 3-2 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by decision. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. Stand-up's average. He does move a lot, but he is pretty hittable. His offensive takedown ability and his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu didn't look too bad. I actually rewatched his last fight against Alejandro Perez. In the third round, he did like this totally blatant headbutt on him. But, he's just like alright. Leonardo Morales, 4-1 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He's only 22 years old. He's got a good Muay Thai game. I actually like his kicks a lot, actually. His grappling probably needs some work. It's just he fought Yair Rodriguez. I saw that fight. He would get taken down. He got his back taken at one point. It's not like he's getting like insta subbed or like his guard passed instantly or anything like that. But it's still just an area that he needs to work on. His takedown defense wasn't too bad, but it's not great either. There's one point where, he's against the cage. Rodriguez gets his hips, and he just elbows him. Doesn't try and get, pummel under or anything like that. Get an underhook or whatever, an overhook. So, definitely needs work there. But I actually kind of liked what I saw. His stand-up game is actually pretty solid. With that said, I think Quinonez is the better grappler, whereas I find Morales to be the better striker. With Quinonez's movement, I think that actually works well with Morales, who likes to kick. So I think that actually works really well for Morales in that aspect. I can see Quinonez actually getting takedowns from Morales. That's a problem. But I can see Morales being able to hit Quinonez clean. So I'll go with Leonardo Morales. Quinonez is a tough dude, though. So I'll go with Morales by decision. Tough to say. Once again, lower level guys, both of them have flaws in their game. So, really tough to say. I see avenues for either guy winning. Okay, to recap on the main card, I have Tim Boetsch beating Dan Henderson, Matt Mitrione beating Ben Rothwell, Dustin Poirier beating Yancy Medeiros, Thiago Tavares over Brian Ortega, Anthony Birchak over Joe Soto, Francisco Rivera over Alex Caceres. On the Fox Sports 1 prelims, I have Shawn Jordan over Derrick Lewis, Omari Akhmedov beating Brian Ebersole, Christos Giagos over Chris Wade, and Joe Proctor over Justin Edwards. On the Fight Pass prelims, I have Jake Collier over Ricardo Abreu, and Leonardo Morales beating Jose Quinonez. So that's it for my predictions for UFC Fight Night 68, Boetsch versus Henderson. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.